We're here talking about remembrance, what our experience of it is, and why it continues to be an important part of what we are, what we do, and how it fits within our lives as serving people in the military. I'm here with Warrant Officer Retired Dave Layton and Master Aircrew Andy Lyles. Mr Layton, you're a veteran of 45 years in the Royal Air Force, and you've been a veteran now for 1 year. What's your experience of remembrance during your service life, and how is that different from today, now that you are a veteran?
Well, thank you. I would certainly say during my service career I was very proud to attend and take part in the parades on Armistice Day, which is a very rewarding experience. And I believe the good thing within the service is it's not just the service person. For myself, my family, who followed me around the world, always attended these ceremonies as well, thoroughly enjoyed it. And when we were in Belgium, we visited the battlefields, and it's just quite a surreal experience. But that, akin to what we give in the service, is really something that we don't pay enough attention to, making sure that our children understand what happened over those times and how concerning it was for families not knowing whether their loved ones were going to return or not. I was in the service, of course, as I said, both home and overseas. Our experience as a family was always rewarding in a way, because we then not only talked about the people that had lost in the Great War, but also the people that we had lost. So that was another part of remembrance for us. And I think very important as well as a family to understand what these people went through. I mean, my grandfather served in the war, but never spoke about his experiences. Always clammed up, which again was concerning. Not then, because we didn't realise, but now when you look back, why didn't he talk? But as I said, during my service, very rewarding. I always volunteered to be on the Remembrance Day parade, because I was proud to do that. And as I said, my family were as well. And coming back now to being a veteran, we wanted to give something back again. Myself and my wife, a lot of time on our hands. So I am now a volunteer, as my wife is, for the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. And what we do is what they call eyes on, hands on. So we look after 8 cemeteries where war dead are. Commonwealth headstones, we ensure that they're in good working order as such, not chipped or defaced, as unfortunately a lot of graves are. And then we clean them as well to make sure that they stand out. And we take my granddaughter with us to help. She absolutely loves it. And again, she talks about why we're doing it. What are these people? Who are these people? So it's very good that we pass that down from, as I said, my family onto the grandchildren, and hopefully they'll talk about it at school as well. So yes, very rewarding, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Andy, you are currently serving with 202 Squadron as part of the flying training system. Please would you share with us what remembrance means to you today, how you get involved in the events and activities of remembrance, and how important is it to you to keep remembering the sacrifice of others in this way?
Okay, so for me, the act of remembrance, for us, it's a tiny act, but it has such a big impact for the fallen, not just for people who died in World War One or World War Two, but also friends and colleagues that I've lost during my career. So it always keeps them at the forefront of the memory. So this This poppy was I was given on my first operational tour to Iraq in 2004, and the significance of it for me, for standing there on parade in the blazing heat in the Iraqi desert to achieve the remembrance ceremony for all those people was absolutely an amazing experience to do, but also an amazing thing to be able to be part of. So since then, the poppy has always been a really important symbol for me, which is why I now get involved with the Royal British Legion as a poppy seller. And just as one example, a lady came into the garden centre I was selling the poppies in with her grandfather, who didn't really say much in his normal day-to-day life, but he saw me in my number ones with my flying badge and my medals on, and in her words, he's sprung to life again. It's as though he's almost there. It turns out he was an air gunner, and unfortunately he'd lost all his friends on a bombing mission. He was the only one that survived, but just the sight of that poppy was enough to bring them back to him again. So even if it's not the act of remembrance for me, it was for him. And this is something we should always instill into future generations. We can't understate what the people who fell for us, what they gave and what they brought to our current lifestyle, and because it could in theory have been very, very different. So it's totally the right thing to do for the act of remembrance to occur and to go on for many, many years to come.
Thank you very much, both of you, for sharing your experiences, current and past. For me, remembrance is one of the more difficult parts of my ministry. If we understand a small part of how horrific war and conflict can be, and of the devastating effect that it has on humanity, then we cannot help but be moved by the experience of Armistice Day and the acts of Remembrance Sunday, the parades, the silence, the music, the last post and the reveille. As leader of many of these services that we conduct every year, I'm required to remain composed and dignified, but sincere, not distant from it all. Sometimes this is really hard, and I value the fact that part of the season of remembrance is more about silence and reflection, and that gives me the opportunity to retreat into my own thoughts and emotions, albeit briefly. I don't have many colleagues or friends that have been affected physically directly by war, but I know of many who bear the emotional scars of war and continue to live with the darkness of their experiences and those of their loved ones too. If I'm going to be genuine in my offering of sadness about what has happened in war and conflict, then I must learn to hold these things before myself as well as before others. But among all these emotions, I have a great sense of thankfulness for the commitment of others to do their duty to serve others, for the sake of freedom and peace. A recent visit to the National Memorial Arboretum reminded me of that great debt of gratitude. We all have a thankfulness that we want to offer to previous generations. We want to express that gratitude in lots of different ways, and the Memorial Arboretum does that. Remembrance for me is a small way in which we can mark that thankfulness and help us never to forget the sacrifice that they have made for us. There's a prayer inscribed on the wall of the chapel at the Arboretum, written by a 13-year-old, which for me says it all. In a world of darkness, give us your light. In lands of war and prejudice, grant us peace. In a world of despair, give us hope. In a world of sadness and tears, show us your joy. In a world of hatred, show us your love. In a world of arrogance, give us humility. In a world of disbelief, give us faith. Give us courage to face the challenges of feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, housing the homeless, and healing the sick. Give us the power to make a difference in your world and to protect your creation.